you'll be able to cope, you'll be able to achieve your goals. And I think you said something very important. There is an in-your-face way of leading and making things happen, but some of the most powerful people I know are the quietest, under the radar. But their power speaks much more loudly than all the hullaboo that I can create. And I also have that persona that can actually do the Zen way, too. So I think that the control is in you, and you express it according to your persona, not ours, but each woman in here has her way of leading and her way of mastering her environment and her way of achieving her goals, and my strategies change differently. If there is an old Republican judge and I know how his wife dresses and he likes his wife, I dress like his wife. And you'd be amazed what a difference it makes. I come in with more pearls than Barbara Bush. You'd swear I was Condi with more hair, you know. St. John's suit, the whole deal. Elizabeth, rule
whatever works.
Whatever works. And so you will find the strategies, but the confidence comes from loving yourself and knowing who you are, and then, as Laura said, creating that network around you. And some of my best mentors have been men. And some of the biggest sexists I've ever met were women.
Yeah.
So stay open, stay flexible, and it's like surfing. Just catch the right wave, ride it in.
And so we've got here a room, an incredible room full of leaders. Each of you, as you drive home tonight, think about that, you know. In your own world, in your own way, you are already. And then the opportunities for more are the same, because heaven only knows this world needs our little world and our bigger world. We need good leaders. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, panel. Thank you. I'm going to do it. Okay, go to. It has been a pleasure to know all of you, to serve you, to work for you, to work with you. Just thank you so much. This is, I said, it's the best sending off I could possibly have, and I'm going to go up to Sacramento and kick some more butt.
City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Quality of life, I think, is going to be redefined in the next decade, and probably one of the most important elements of quality of life is how much time you get to live it.
There's never been a bigger need for this high-speed train. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to handle all of those people. There's no other way.
Often maligned as science fiction in the United States, high-speed trains are a fact of life in most of the world's developed industrialized economies. In fact, high-speed trains have proven to be the safest and most reliable form of transportation in the world. ideally suited for the unprecedented needs of California in the 21st century.
There's just not enough money to build new highways and take care of all of the existing ones, and we really need to look at alternatives. High-speed rail, to me, is the solution for getting people out of their cars, getting rid of the gridlock.
Feasibility studies document high-speed trains' advantages for linking California's metropolitan regions together in a highly efficient, environmentally friendly network by 2020. Employing state-of-the-art technology and moving at sustained speeds up to 220 miles per hour, California high-speed rail will extend from San Diego in the south to Sacramento and the San Francisco Bay Area. A trip from San Diego to Los Angeles, city center to city center, in under an hour and 20 minutes. A trip from Los Angeles to Fresno in less than an hour and a half. A trip from downtown Los Angeles to downtown San Francisco, just over 2.5 hours every time, regardless of weather. High-speed trains will also provide fast, frequent service for shorter trips. Anaheim to Los Angeles Union Station in 20 minutes. Downtown Los Angeles to Palmdale and Ontario airports in 25 minutes. And in the underserved Central Valley Corridor, Fresno to Sacramento in just over 50 minutes. High-speed trains will provide passengers with safe, comfortable, on-time service, with ridership potentially exceeding 100 million passengers a year by 2030.
The options are either expand the highways, expand the runways, and expand the airport gates, all at a cost of over $82 billion. We can build a high-speed train for half that cost.
High-speed trains are good for California's environment. Running on overhead electric lines, high-speed trains are a clean technology, ideally positioned for California's future.
The governor and the legislature have seen the light on global warming. They've seen the light on energy efficiency. And the high-speed rail, it would be a fundamental part of a package of infrastructure and policies to lessen California's impact on global warming, to lessen our impact on imported oil, and to improve our quality of life.
Using existing right-of-ways and rail and freeway corridors, high-speed trains will minimize impact on farmland, wetlands, and sensitive habitats.
We think the project is designed well. There are no stops in the middle of nowhere. The stops are in existing urban areas where they should be. Plus, they've accounted for wildlife corridors, and most importantly, the effect on global warming. High-speed rail is an important part of the solution that we need to have, and have soon, on global warming.
High-speed trains will counter the tendency towards sprawl in California's emerging urban centers by promoting sustainable, transit-oriented development.
Many communities have already made it their policy priority to encourage that kind of development for a host of very good reasons, and the high-speed train will really help them make that happen.
I believe that expanding those opportunities in a 20-minute high-speed train ride from Anaheim in the center of what we call the Platinum Triangle, in the middle of the densest area of all of Orange County with residential densities, to be able to get from there to downtown Los Angeles in 20 minutes is a great way not only to relieve traffic congestion on freeways, but to address future potential and future needs.
High-speed trains will require no operating subsidy and will strengthen California's economy, resulting in as many as 450,000 new jobs, while safeguarding the mobility essential to the state's prosperity.
The train system itself is going to provide benefits even before the train is built. We are providing jobs through the contracting process. We're going to be doing right-of-way land acquisitions.
Moving safely on improved separated grades, slated for construction over the next decade, California's entire rail and road network will be vastly improved. Separated grades will eliminate crossing points between cars and trains, reducing both noise and congestion, allowing for safer, more efficient movement on both rail and road.
With the grade separations, we're going to be able to move freight a lot faster.
High-speed transportation is an essential element of ensuring that California is attractive to business people and to investors in businesses and to people who want to work in those businesses.
If you look at the new dedicated freight line that goes from the Port of Los Angeles out through L.A., and this is a multi-billion-dollar project for freight. Well, we need a multi-billion-dollar project for people, and high-speed trains are the way to go.
With program-level environmental reviews successfully completed, California is closer than ever to achieving its dream of fast, reliable, environmentally sustainable transportation for the 21st century.
The overall vision of the high-speed rail system is well done, and the Sierra Club, as a large environmental organization, is behind it. You didn't see us sue over the environmental documents for good reason. They're solid and they make sense.
To make it happen, the California High-Speed Rail Authority is acting now to preserve right-of-ways and complete engineering and environmental studies critical to building the system on time.
The longer we wait, the more money that it costs. We can't afford to waste taxpayer money by waiting.
I believe we need to focus on the future. We need to focus on our next generation. What is our planet going to look like? How is our next generation going to get to work? And I think we need to put on our long-term hats and think about the benefits in the long term and not just today.
California is developing new paradigms for meeting its future transportation needs. It is time once again for California to innovate. It is time once again for California to lead the way. This is high-speed rail.
I got you something very special for our first anniversary. Now close your eyes. Surprise! It's an emergency preparedness kit. Isn't it great? It's got food, water, first aid kit, and this neat emergency tool for shutting off utilities. Honey, we are going to be prepared for any emergency. Honey? Sweetie, I have one more surprise. This really cool cranking flashlight.
Get the message? Be prepared.
Yo, check this out. I'm at the light, right? Dude was trying to fill me out, so I blew right past him. Yeah, I won. But I wasn't the real winner, because he's alive and I'm dead.
What about my family? I wasn't even part of your street race. Now I'm dead.
And don't even think, man, that'll never happen to me, dog, because that's what I thought. And now, I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye.
Listen, life is important. Drive responsibly. Learn more at watchtheroad.org.
LA City View, Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Ad Hoc Committee on Economic Recovery and Reinvestment. This is a special meeting for Friday, June 12th, 2009, here in the John Farrow Council Chamber, room 340 of City Hall. It is about 9:10. I know Ms. Gould is on her way down, and we should have a quorum shortly, but Mr. Parks and Mr. Wesson are here. If Ms. Hahn or Ms. Perry or Mr. Rosendahl are around, come on down, and we can have you here as well. We have a relatively light agenda today. We have 3 items, but why don't we start on 1A, or give us an overview if there's anything before we go to the specific items.
Good morning, council members. Ramel Pasquale, Director of Environment for the Mayor's Office, and sitting in for Jim Clark, who is out of the office.
Hey, you look a little different.
Yes, a little bit. I got a tan. It's quite a light week in terms of announcements. However, the departments have been applying for the grants that we've gone through ad hoc, and what we're noticing as well in the general kind of our environment is that guidelines are beginning to come out in full force. So those that we've been waiting for several weeks are now coming in, specifically around energy monies as well around technologies. So we are now in the process of making sure that departments do know what those guidelines are and being on top of the application process. So we're beginning to see, and I think this is just now the beginning of guidelines coming down, specifically those where states have submitted their guidelines to the federal entities, and the federal entities are now approving them, and then guidelines will be coming down on state energy grants, on weatherization, and other state resources. So that's the week so far.
Yeah, okay.
Good morning, Bill Murray to the CAO's office. To give you an overview, I want to say that the tracking sheet, or the spreadsheet as we've often referred to it, has been modified and is now on the intranet and the internet in a more readable form. In the past, the font got to be so small because of the amount of information, the number of columns that we were using, it was really not very legible. So we have a new form that you'll see on the intranet or the internet for you. In addition to that, the one-pager that we've been referring to, we've now expanded that to include 2 addendum pages. And those pages, as well as the modifications to the one-pager, include information on how the grants conform to the Council's 12 principles for evaluation. We've added a primary project address list to enable ITA to geocode the grants for the primary locations. We've added fields to show the number of jobs created and the jobs retained and the green jobs. We've added fields to better explain the match requirements, which was one of the committee's concerns. And we've added much more in the way of details in terms of salaries and employee information. You should begin to see those new, what I'll call the 3-pager now. You should begin to see those at next week's ad hoc committee meeting.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you for that.
We've submitted that form to the CLA for them to review as well.
And then those will be the ones that we'll be posting on the internet as well?
Well, we won't be posting. Oh, yes, it will be posted on the internet.
Once we do them, yeah.
Exactly.
Right,
so the departments can go grab that from the internet.
Great.
In addition to that, 4 grants have been applied since this committee last met on May 29th for approximately $24.5 million. So far, the number of applications submitted to date are 48 for a total of $643,800,000. The total for grant awards that we've received is $289 million, and we're looking at either none or possibly 1 grant to be submitted in the next week prior to the next ad hoc committee.
You said we've received $289 million in awards?
I'm sorry?
The $289 million was what?
$289 million is the amount that we've of estimated grant awards. We've either received notices of award or they're formula grants that we've been told we're going to get, but we're waiting for the notice of award there.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's all I have to report.
Okay. And just all of those, out of curiosity, all of those are new monies. You're not counting like a normal consolidated plan or anything like that in that?
Well, those are our monies. Some of them are going through from the consolidated plan. It incorporates those as well.
But it only incorporates, for instance, in the consolidated plan, the $19 million.
Okay. Exactly.
Great.
Yes.
So that's a big piece of news, guys. Just keeping track. $289 million is very good work. So it's good to hear. And I assume a lot of those are notices that we will be receiving. Have we had notices on COPS Grant, about what kind of ballpark?
I didn't bring those with me, but I don't remember seeing that one.
Okay. All right.
And we will bring those back through this committee for acceptance of the award.
Okay, great. Okay. Let's jump into 1A then. DWP. We're joined by Ms. Perry and Mr. Rosendahl, and Ms. Gould. So we have 6 members. Wow. All we need is Han, and we've got a trifecta.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Happy Friday to everyone. I am Joe Avila, the staff assistant to the general manager of the Department of Water and Power. I'm here with Clayton Yoshida and Catherine Rubin, and we're here to share some information on CalFed.
Great.
Remember, please.
All right.
Catherine.
In response to the statewide drought conditions and the mayoral directives for all the city departments to reduce the water consumption by 10%, LADWP has embarked on an aggressive 18-month water-efficient fixture retrofit program, and we have already pretty much completed Phase 1. We are asking for grant funds for Phases 2 and Phase 3 in the amount of $808,000. This will include, the replacement of 329 faucets for year 1, 603 toilets, 277 urinals, 260 showers, and 146 sinks. And then in year 2, we'll be replacing 273 faucets, 296 toilets, 50 urinals, and 2 sinks and showers.
Okay. All right.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Parks?
Yes.
Yeah, one question, and I think the grant certainly is hitting on some issues that are important, but I was just wondering, when you look at just the properties of DWP, whether there's an intent to go to all city properties, or are we going to rely on general services to do that, or how does that work?
There is another program which is hitting all of the other city department buildings, and I believe the General Services Division is working on that with LADWP.
Okay, but that hasn't come through yet?
They are working on it. I don't know if they have applied for a grant. We can certainly get back to you on that. It is in process, but we only work on the LADWP buildings.
Because I was just wondering the fact that you're doing it for them, but you are water experts and all that other, whether it carries over for the whole city, and that we not drop the ball for the rest of the city buildings.
We are not dropping the ball for the rest of the city. Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions about our sink, showers, toilets, urinals, and other water-saving devices, potentially? Not?
I should also mention that there's a landscaping program, too, where we are changing out the landscapes into drought-tolerant plants, and also the smart controller sprinklers. And I believe we have...
These are DWP facilities as well, or
these
just
are
the DWP?
Yes, these are all LADWP facilities as well. We do have a yard, or is it over here, right by the cathedral, a DS station. There is a garden that they have retrofitted for the public to go take a look at, as well as, of course, we have some gardens in our front of the building and the Rowena Reservoir.
Can I make a recommendation as well? That I know that these are great things that we're doing, and I know in the past DWP did a great job with Griffith Park to replumb it. I know Reckham Parks has been struggling, but all this that is being saved, there's hardly a week that goes by in Legion Park that I don't go out there in the morning for a hike or for a jog, and literally on Monday it was just flowing, I mean almost like a stream this big, just flowing for, apparently it had been like 3 days of water in Legion Park. Reckham Parks knows about it, but I think they don't have the resources. We talked a while back to DWP, but you'll probably get as much bang for the buck. I don't know if we can apply in any of these these grants for, plumbing fixing of city facilities, but if there is any possibility, please look into that, because I bet bang for the buck replacing this old piping that just bursts every single day, it seems like.
So you're saying there's a leak over at Elysian Park?
Well, there's many of them. There's one guy whose whole job is to go and plug leaks all day long, but, if it's the weekend and he's off, we've had weeks at a time where we've turned chaparral into basically tropical gardens. It's nice in the park to look at, but it's not the most efficient use of water. And I know that was something that happened in Griffith Park partially because of the worries on water pressure and safety if there's a fire there. We have that same concern on public safety side in Elysian Park, but just from a water waste point of view, sprinklers that are on too long in one park would be pale in comparison to what is flowing through Elysian Park. So if you want to look at that, we'd love for you.
Absolutely.
We'll pass that along to Mr. Muckry.
Yeah, well, he knows about it, but if there's any way the DWP in looking at funds can help out there, that would be great.
We appreciate that. And through our program, we are also finding leaks in our buildings as well, and we're putting together a leaks program.
Well, this grant you can apply. Anybody in the city could be applying for. Any departments could be applying for.
This particular program is the CalFed grant through the Bureau of Reclamation, and other city departments can apply for it. I'm not sure if on the city side if they applied for this particular grant, but I can certainly look into that for you.
The deadline was the 8th?
The deadline was the 8th.
I think that brings up a good point, because when I saw...
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When
I know Ms. Perry and Mr. Smith.
saw the fact that it was talking about turf and others, it talked about rec and park. So I don't know, and this would be looking at the CAO and CLA, the mayor's office, why rec and parks didn't apply for these dollars as well.
We asked the CAO to contact rec and parks as well and ask them why. Thank you. Ms. Perry?
I think that is the suggestion that Mr. Garcetti made is a very good one, and maybe CAO can do a quick survey of leakage issues in our parks. I know that about 3-4 weeks ago I had a similar experience in South Park, a river coming up from underneath the clubhouse at South Park at 51st and Avalon, and I actually called DWP. It was after hours. They actually came out and said they couldn't identify the source of the leak because they had to allow the Recreation and Parks plumber to investigate first before they could assert their jurisdiction over it. It had been going on for days, and it created, again, like Mr. Garcetti said, a river through the park, and it made the grass soggy where people were walking, and it's a health hazard because it was standing too once it came out. So my suggestion is not only that one, but quick survey, maybe just calls to the directors of each park. Do you have any leakage problems, or a blast of an email so that we can catch this all at once?
Okay. I'll also bring this up. We meet with the Assistant General Manager of the water system every Wednesday. We have a water plan meeting, and I'll bring it up at that meeting as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, Roosevelt?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
We're all anecdotal here about different stories. I'll give you a couple of them.
Okay.
First of all, waterless urinals, which we have found to be obviously saving significant amount of money. I see them popping up every now and then in different spots. Do we have a plan to get them everywhere, or what is our strategy on waterless urinals?
Right. Waterless urinals, you have to have a certain ventilation in the bathroom. There are certain plumbing, certain types of plumbing that you need to have. So there's certain guidelines they have to follow in order to utilize or be able to retrofit with the waterless urinal. But it is the plan to put in the most water efficient fixture wherever they can. Mm-hmm. So that is the plan.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is just another anecdotal story. We're doing this Sepulveda streetscape, and it's coming along nicely and so on. But all of a sudden I see a medium put in. I see some drought-resistant plants. I see great. And then I see some grass. And then I see some sprinklers put in. And I'm saying to myself, first of all, I don't want to put grass anymore, because grass is not native to here, and to keep grass going is a significant amount of water. Do we have any kind of a notion of dealing with the sprinklers and different systems that actually do before 9 o'clock on a Monday and after 4 in the afternoon, and before 9 o'clock on a Thursday and after 4 in the afternoon. Because as everybody watching this knows, we're in phase 3 and effective now, no watering period from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., 7 days a week. I don't care what kind of watering strategies you want, no watering. And then on top of that, sprinklers before 9 and after 4 on Mondays and Thursdays. You can hand water before 9 and after 4, 7 days a week, but no watering between 9 and 4. With that as a backdrop, do we have an overall strategy of how we police that option? For instance, I see a lot of gardeners coming in all over the place, and they're watering between 9 and 4. They're watering. They literally are watering. They're doing this and that and everything else. Is there any way to get that clarity out there enough so that I also think we should, by the way, license all gardeners like they do in Santa Monica, and we should do all valets and license them too. It's revenue streams and an organized strategy. But what about a coordinated effort on getting those messages out?
Are you speaking to the residents of the city of LA?
Yeah.
What they've done is I don't know if you've heard, but there's been quite a few commercials. They've put out a lot of press releases now. They've let people know that the ordinance is in effect. They've put out door hangers. We do have what is called the Drought Buster team that does go out and enforce and go around and gives out violations. And we keep a tally on how many violations. There's when you're first cited, the second citation, the third citation. As I understand, the fine goes up each time.
Yeah, I understand that. But what about the drought busters working with the city departments, Rec and Park, and others that actually are out of compliance? And when I get the calls from the constituents telling me about a city department's water issue, they're really angry. And I'm just wondering, do we have an internal city committee that makes it all clear to every aspect, right hand, left hand, and between hand, about our water policies?
Yes, we do.
Oh, good.
And that's, again, out from Mr. McDaniel's water plan meeting. And there is a group of people that are going around to the city departments, Rec and Parks in particular, and we know that we do have some issues there.
And is there a number a constituent can call if they want to support the drought busters when they see stuff going on in different areas that they would like to make a phone call to?
Yes,
is it 311?
It's on our intranet site, intranet site if you're an employee, and you could also call 311. If you want to, and you'd get connected with LADWP.
Okay, what if you're not a computer literate type who's watching this? What would you dial?
You could dial the main number for, it's called 311, and then they would hook you up with LADWP. Yeah.
Just as a reminder, folks, we'd try to keep it to the grants and the area stuff that we had before. We could discuss a lot of interesting and fun things this morning.
Our jurisdiction to Rec and Parks.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I think the first thing that I thought of when I saw this was, it's a great grant. It doesn't really create any jobs. What you're telling me is it's just retaining DWP jobs?
Right. Well, it retains DWP jobs, but it creates, because we don't have enough plumbers. So you're
going to be hiring people for this?
Exempt plumbers are going to be hired. I believe there was 4 to 6 people.
Oh, 4 to 6 people. So we're creating 4 jobs from this grant.
4 to 6 jobs.
Yeah, I know. I think this has been my problem with all this, and I just bring it up every time because it was really my hope that some of these economic stimulus grants really would create new jobs. We could hire people that didn't have a job and get them back spending money in our economy. So it's always frustrating to me. The other thing that I was wondering, was there an opportunity, it also seems very, like we're taking care of our own facilities. Was there an opportunity in this grant to look at creating some kind of a program with the public to help them replace some of their facilities with low flow, low volume? And I'm kind of rambling here, but another one. It's okay. Remember when the DWP kind of said they were doing at-use at-risk youth program, hiring young people to install, I think it was these wireless urinals in some of our recreation and parks. That was a couple years ago. Didn't really seem to ever happen, even though DWP sort of claimed it was happening. I just looked at this grant. Was there an opportunity for those things, the public, hiring at-risk kids to maybe install some of these things in our public facilities, our parks? It just seems like it's a huge grant, but we're absorbing it completely within our own department. We're creating 4 jobs.
There is one, if I may jump in there. I know that the WIA stimulus dollars that we got, there's a summer youth program to do smart irrigation in a number of parks working with DWP, and there's 8 that are queued up as part of our summer youth employment, and I think it goes beyond.
I'm just wondering, that's still not enough. It's still not enough.
I think $3 million.
Just wondered if there was an opportunity within this grant to do something like that. Reach out to the public.
Right. This particular grant, it's stipulated for water conservation.
Right, I know, but wouldn't that be great to go out to the public and work with them on water conservation?
And this it acts as a showcase for the public, because as we are
that's nice to say, but wouldn't it be better to actually do it for the public as opposed to being a showcase for the public?
That gets into other issues, such as gifting public funds that you would obviously have to look into. But we have been looking as part of our phase 1. We are doing retrofits for our customer stations that we lease, that we do not own, that we do get permission from the landowners.
By the way, that's what this money is. It's a gift to the public, economic stimulus dollars. That's what it is. That's the whole idea behind it, is a gift to the public to stimulate the economy and do things that are our core goals and missions, like conservation or environmental issues.
No, we appreciate that, Councilmember, and just so that you know,
I was just wondering, was there an opportunity in this grant?
On every project, we in fact hired an outside firm to help us do an evaluation of every project. The lead criteria and the focus for every single one of these projects was job creation.
Right.
At the same time, every one of these grant applications had to be crafted so that they comported with the criteria. Obviously, if you had certain features, say, outreach or what have you, and they did not comport with the rules, and we weren't successful because we did not. It depends on every grant's different. Every grant's different, council member, but we did in fact hire a firm to evaluate every single one of the projects that are on our tracking sheet that we've given.
I just want to go on record again, Mr. President, that it's just, I just feel like these grants are frustrating. This one created 4 jobs. And it's a complete retrofit of facilities in DWP.
Well, what we'll do is
I just think this would have been a great opportunity to reach out to the public.
I'm not sure it's only 4 council members. So what I'll do for you, we may have just something.
And that's something, by the way, I think we need a good accounting on. So far, how many real jobs?
Well, just before you came here, we did get that accounting from the CAO.
Okay.
They gave us a rundown, and there's an attachment now based on our comments from last week that it won't just be one-pagers, but there's going to be addendums that have that. We'll have green jobs, a whole bunch of other things that are a piece of that. So
this one's 4.
So just so that you know, the focus is on job creation, Councilman. I assure you, we're trying our best to try to create jobs, and every one of these programs will in fact create.
This one does not seem like that.
Or hundreds. Well, we'll confirm that it's 4. I highly doubt that it's only 4, but we'll get back to you, Councilmember.
6. She said 4 to 6.
6 families that'll get a job, and we'll do our best to give you more information on all of our programs, Councilmember, I assure you.
Also, Councilman Hahn, this is for the LADWP facilities. And we have about, how many LADWP facilities?
But that's not what the grant, the grant didn't say we had to spend it in DWP facilities.
Yeah. But we're only responsible for submitting grants on behalf of the department.
I know, but it was about water conservation.
Right.
Was the gist of this grant.
Yeah.
So it seems to me when we're in we're trying to reach out to the public, we're trying to get everybody to conserve water. It would have been interesting to use this grant money, I think, in a different way. That's all I'm saying.
So you're just saying to broaden our scope a little bit more?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To the extent we can, and it comports with the rules of the grant, we will do.
Right, absolutely. I mean,
I don't want us to overextend ourselves beyond what we're capable of doing. I would hate for us to forego any opportunities because we were trying to overextend ourselves, and then we, in fact, end up not
right,
getting
I
any
just
money.
think in a water crisis, it's not as much about being a model as it is actually getting the public to conserve water. That's more important to me, frankly.
We got you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's another question, let's go to 1B. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, sir. From waterless urinals, we go to biogas and renewable energy. I made one for some reason. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mark Starr, Senior Environmental Engineer at Hyperion Treatment Plant.
Before she asks how many jobs, before Ms. Hahn asks how many jobs are part of this.
For this proposal? There's going to be opportunities for outside contractors and consultants to work on this.
There we go. Just wanted to ask. Outsiders. That's us. Anyways, go ahead. Tell us what the grant is for.
I'd like to introduce Ron Palacios. He is our project manager on this. He's going to run through the grant proposal, give you a real brief rundown on some of the accomplishments and participants and some of the outcomes.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
So the Bureau of Sanitation Hyperion Treatment Division will be partnering with the Solid Resource Citywide Recycling Division, Bureau of Engineering, and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory to apply for a $5 million grant offered by the Department of Energy. And basically will accomplish two things. It will create a project which will design, develop, construct, and test a prototype process which will convert contaminated food waste into a clean liquid stream which can be injected into one of our Hyperion treatment plant's anaerobic digesters, and therefore increase our gas production, and therefore increase our energy. So, and then at the same time also help us with the completion of our food waste digestion pilot. It's a 6-month pilot to study the operational characteristics of one of our digesters. And basically, once this process is developed, currently the city collects 75 tons of food waste per day, and that's from 600 restaurants. So currently we have about more than 10,000 restaurants that are producing food waste, but which we're not collecting from. And even 75 tons would create 2.2 megawatts of energy, which basically make the plant energy independent. So, it is a green project because it does reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It does produce a renewable energy, and it does contribute to Green LA, Green New LA plan. So it's basically the project there.
On the one page, or just there's one typo. Digestion is missing a T on the possibility of leveraging other projects, but I know that's an internal thing, not one that we submitted to the federal government. Are there any questions on this? Ms. Hahn? Please.
So the only jobs this creates is for outside consultants?
No, I can't answer that. We are going to be partnering with our food waste haulers, so they will be a participant in here. Any installation of...
Who are our food waste haulers?
They're Athens Recycling, and I forgot the other name. One of them is Athens, and the other one is I think Crown Disposal. I'm not sure about that, but I can check. So actually, we currently have a transfer station where we take all our food waste to the East Valley. A company called Community Recycling. They're the ones that process all our food waste into a compost.
Right.
So instead of us taking that food waste into a compost, we propose to put it into our digester so we can make more gas. So I mean, this project, would that benefit that company because maybe we would need their help for developing this process?
So it's the food waste haulers that are just going to get, what, an extra contract, or?
This would probably be added onto their contract, depending on where we process.
I mean, they're picking it up anyway, right?
They're picking
But right
it up
now, they're
anyway.
taking it and composting it.
Yes.
And all we're doing is kind of redirecting it to...
Well, we're doing more than redirecting it. It's going to be a process that we're going to take and separate the contaminants out of the food waste to make it a clean stream that we can put into our digesters. So there may be some work associated with that. There may be some hand picking that goes on. Obviously, the pieces of equipment that are going to go on wherever we install this, there's going to be some contractors that will most likely come in and do the installation of the pieces of equipment.
There's actually a possibility for, as you said, hand pickers.
Absolutely.
That we don't currently have right now. Is that an opportunity for, people who are out of work or young people at risk, or how can we ensure that the contractors would go in that direction to hire people?
Well, we can make it a requirement. I mean, we sit down and we work with our food haulers. There is going to have to be some components of removing material from the food waste stream. So
I mean, not
it
a
is
fun
going to be
job, but a
component.
job nevertheless.
The bigger pieces of cardboard and whatever, they're probably going to...
Where is this going to take place?
We're looking at 2 locations, maybe possibly at the Hyperion Treatment Plant or at one of the pre-processing stations.
Is there any opportunity for our Terminal Island sanitation facility?
I think most of our haulers are, the 2 haulers that we're working for are in the valley and one's in the central area, so that would probably be the more appropriate locations. That's where all they're based out of.
Well, I mean, I'd like to make that as part of this, that obviously if there's any jobs besides, because again, this one doesn't feel like it's creating any jobs. We're basically just going to add on to a contract with the haulers of the food anyway. But if there's an opportunity at these sites for hand pickers, we'd like to make sure that they're local, City of LA, maybe some young people. Is this a summer job?
Yeah, that's one part of the addendums.
Can we put that in as a request, a requirement?
Part of the addendums that we have to the one sheet is also have the 12 things that this committee came up with for criteria, including the local hiring piece. So you should be able to look at that, but they should be able to answer it today. But just
right, because again, I mean, ultimately, and it's the end goal. Obviously, is a great idea to create more energy from waste, but doesn't create one job. Does not create one job. Maybe, you're saying, possibly with some hand pickers.
Well, there's going to be contractors that will come in and install the equipment too. So we're going to have a contract with them, or we'll sub that, or that'll be subbed through our haulers, that they will have contractors come in and
so you're going to have
equipment.
these other haulers contract with the people to come in and install the equipment.
It would be a vehicle by which we could get contractors on board to do the installation equipment. There's going to be pumps, conveyor belts, grinders, trommel mills, things of that nature. There's going to be mechanical equipment.
Okay, and do we have control over who they hire?
Through our contractors, yes.
Okay.
Through our existing contracts, yeah.
And where are these disposal companies located? Athens and Consolidated? Or?
Yeah. They're in Sun Valley.
Where?
In Sun Valley.
Sun Valley.
Oh, okay. Well, all of them are Sun Valley?
In one central. In one central. LA, I believe. The other one, we can't find the name for it right now.
Which one is in central LA? Which one is in central LA?
I think that's community recycling.
Which one?
Community recycling.
Maybe it'd be interesting to look at a facility, Ms. Perry, Mr. Parks, in South LA as one of these facilities, instead of just all of them out in the valley. Could we look at that? Nothing wrong with the valley, but especially if that hauler is in the South LA. Community recycling. Are you familiar with them? Community recycling? Me neither.
Yeah, we're using both our haulers.
Why not? You might want to talk to them. Okay. Any other questions? We're good? Thank you. All right. Go ahead and take up item number 2. Thank you very much.
That's a good track.
So, do you have a place that wants it?
Yeah, they're big place. Lancet. Lancet. We could do a Lancet.
Big incinerator.
Food incinerator.
This is where you process it.
Good morning again.
Good morning. Good morning, council members. Romel Pasquale, Director of Environment for the Mayor's Office. I'm here with Craig Tramby, who is one of our environmental supervisors in the Environmental Affairs Department. And we're here to talk to you about the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program. And let me assure you, this will create jobs. And I will go into the discussion around jobs, but this is an exciting block grant program, and many folks have a lot of attention focused on this. But let me give you a set of context in how we've been coordinating this effort within the various departments, and also in lead coordination with Councilmember Perry's office in coordinating the departments. We head up a work group, an energy efficiency and environmental work group that looks at all environmental and energy projects. And to date, we've submitted to ad hoc for consideration more than $220 million worth of projects, and that's outside of the energy efficiency block grant. So we're talking about projects around diesel emission reduction and projects that the Port of Los Angeles and DWP have submitted around water and environmental conservation issues. But specifically on the energy block grant, the ARA money around the energy block grant is close to $3.2 billion, with $2.8 billion specifically targeted at formula and $400 million targeted at competitive. The City of Los Angeles received more than $37 million in allocation. And the use of the allocated money is for a number of purposes, but the overall goal is to reduce fossil emissions, encourage energy efficiency, create jobs, look at our security measures in terms of generation of electricity, our ability to leverage resources as well as public and private resources, and specifically looking at technologies. What kinds of technologies can we promote in the use of this energy block grant? In our coordination efforts with the different departments, we've looked at close to $250 million worth of projects that meet each one of the requirements, though we're only receiving $37 million. So we do have some work ahead of us in terms of prioritizing. In terms of how we prioritize these projects, we have looked at the guidelines laid out in the energy efficiency block grant guidelines, which are quite specific, and we've also used the ad hoc's guiding principles around readiness, principles about job creation, and we've adapted them to meet the requirements under our energy block grant. Two of the things that are quite important to us and our ability to be able to create jobs is the use of the revolving loan funds. We have the ability to dedicate 20% of the $37 million into a revolving loan fund. Many cities have begun to do this, including San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, and New York, and all of the cities that I've mentioned. We have had conversations with them. And we've been working with the Clinton Climate Initiative, as well as other very smart finance folks to think through what does a revolving loan fund look like. It's not a very easy thing to put together, but quite important, because the target for the revolving loan fund that we're looking at are commercial and residential sectors. The other cities are looking at revolving loan funds for municipal facilities, which we think we've covered, municipal facilities. We need the ability to go out to the public to be able to retrofit their facilities, but look at it in a way that continues the funding process. One of the important pieces is we have $37 million, 7.4 could be dedicated to a revolving loan fund. We can exhaust that $37 million very quickly. but utilizing a revolving loan fund could continue an energy efficiency component throughout the life of these projects. The other piece that we're looking into is sub-grantees. The block grant allows us to do 20% of our grant for sub-grantees to non-governmental organizations. So essentially, you're creating a program. We've been in discussions with a number of nonprofits and service providers who would obviously like to help us with the crafting of this program. We haven't made a decision in terms of the amount, but the ability for us to do that is there, but up to 20%, which is an additional $7.4 million. So when you're looking at both the revolving loan fund and the sub-grantees, that's close to $15 million off of the top of the $37 million that we're receiving. So in terms of us being able to access the resources, they are allocated monies. We have to develop an energy strategy, an energy conservation strategy, which is one of the requirements under the block grant guidelines. We're going to be going out to the public to be able to solicit information and input as to what the strategy could look like. The guidelines themselves do not specifically say, please do public outreach processes. Our work group decided that it was very critical for us to go out to the public, and in consultation with a number of council offices, going to the public is quite important for us to begin to look at what are the priorities for the public. We are then now requesting a $250,000 drawdown from our $37 million, which is allowable in the energy efficiency block grant, to develop the strategy. Again, we're the only city of the cities that I've mentioned in my conversations with also Chicago that are doing a public outreach process with the energy efficiency dollars. There are two options for us to receive the money. One is develop the strategy ourselves and then lay out our projects. But what we want to do is develop the strategy in consultation with communities. And we are looking at doing several meetings in the different regions. The question becomes, obviously, how many meetings do we do that would be considered meaningful, and what targets, which we will be developing. And we will also be looking at the $250,000 to help us think through the revolving loan fund and the sub-grantee grants, which are quite important to, obviously, our constituents, both on the private sector and the public sector. So the one-pager before you is a drawdown of $250,000 for the development of the strategy, public outreach processes as well. So that's where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. I've been participating in those discussions quite a bit, so I'll throw it open to other council members. This is just the $250,000 piece, but I do want to thank the mayor's office for doing something with this council that no other cities really are doing. And I think that of all of the monies that are here, this is the biggest pot, folks, of new monies. I mean, if you count the COPS monies as being kind of a repeat but improvement of an older program, this is the Obama's administration's first real new pot of money, and it may be something they sustain past just the stimulus package. So what we can put in place for being a model for energy efficiency throughout the city will, I think, really be an example for the country. And we've had a number of discussions with Secretary Chu on some of this when we've gone there. One other area that, as we're scoping that I think is very important, that he's personally very interested in, you'll recall from that meeting that we had, is looking at the energy use of buildings, not just the design, of going more towards a German model of looking at the output there. And I think there's some companies that are engaged in some of our big projects in the city. I was talking to HNTB, which is helping with the Bradley Terminal, for instance, and I know Bill and I and others have been very passionate about green building. That just measures the design, not the actual use. And if we could get a piece of this looking also at our smart technologies that measure water and power output in a building, maybe Tom Bradley would be a good place to do that. So, yeah, Bill?
One quick question. Are you going to solicit for requests from folks as to how they get involved? In other words, set up some criteria that if you can do this, if you can do that, the principle of this and the principle of that. Explain how that would be so people can come to you and say, I got a great project.
Yeah, the guidelines are very specific as to what we can and cannot fund. And so the criteria is already laid out for us within the guidelines, which I've mentioned before. We're also applying the guidelines and principles that the ad hoc developed in terms of how we look at the overall funding, and we've adapted each one of those to energy efficiency and environmental purposes. When we go out to the public, we will be soliciting the types of projects we should be looking into, whether or not it's solar, retrofit, water conservation, transportation. Some of the projects that do have a private specific benefit, we could steer towards a revolving fund, whether or not the revolving fund is a loan program or a half-and-half program. Again, we need to really look into that.
Yeah, when you say you go out to the public...
When we go to the public meetings, we'll be soliciting the types of projects.
What kind of a format are you going to set up? You're going to go through neighborhood councils? You're going to set up town halls?
We're looking at... my sense is that it's going to be a variety of them. And it's also going to be a variety of targeted audience, whether or not it's specifically the private sector, the nonprofit sector, the folks who are in the housing associations. I think what we want to make sure is that we get a sense from the public of the priority projects that they would like to see, not necessarily a priority building on the corner of because I think what happens is that we could exhaust the
Have you also thought about going to universities and think tanks and stuff like that?
We've been working throughout this process with the UCLA Labor Center, for instance, as well as USC. There's a lot of folks who want to help us on this, and we're not short of technical resource capacity. The question is, because you have so many, is how do you manage which ones? And MIT has actually come and approached us as well. So we have interest from outside of Los Angeles.
Great. Thank you. If there's no other questions, then we will go ahead and adjourn. I'm sorry, Ms. Hahn?
I know part of it's getting input from council offices too, so we look forward to, I have some ideas.
Great.
And that instruction has been given, and we'll continue to. And in terms of any of the planning stuff too, let any of your staff talk to Sam Siegel in my office, and we can make sure we coordinate as well council requests for meetings and stuff like that. Okay. Thank you all very much. Is there any public comment on the committee meeting? Nope. Okay, this meeting of the Ad Hoc Committee on Economic Recovery and Investment is adjourned. We will begin the council meeting in about 5 minutes. Thank you.